Welcome to FX's Sons of Anarchy live premiere chat. I'm Russell Brand. I am here literally in the Sam Crow clubhouse. I'm loose, I can touch things, but there's Bobby Elvis, I'm near people. There's the bloke who plays Otto. This is a genuinely exciting opportunity. Season 5 starts in a minute. Welcome all of you to your clubhouse, your creative home.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to come in here. Fellow Brit. Nice one. Right, this is a live chat before tonight's premiere episode of Season 5 of Sons of Anarchy. It's entitled Sovereign. Now, what makes this event very, very special is that all of the questions that I'm going to be asking to your favourite characters come from you. These are your questions. And it turns out from these questions, Kurt,
Yes, sir.
that a lot of your fans are, as you might imagine from the fact that they're devoted to Sons of Anarchy, are mentally unstable.
They are.
And incarcerated.
Some of them, yeah. Many of the questions, Ron, do come from inside prisons and institutions, I've checked.
I've always found that.
A lot of people, I think, that strike up chats with you have been institutionalised at some time. The first question is, of course, for the current Sam Crow president, played by beloved Charlie. This is from Marcy Gray. She's a fan, mate. She wants to know this. I'm doing your bidding here, Marcy. I'm just a conduit. What do you think, Charlie? What do you think will be the main differences between Jax's and Clay's leadership of the club? How will it change now that you have seized control?
I'll take it.
Yeah,
Conflict.
please be my guest.
No. Go, please.
I think that Clay had good intentions when he started running, when he took over as president, but over the years, through his leadership, it became more of a dictatorship than a democracy, and I think that that's Jax's whole intention when he rises to power, is to just bring this back to a bit more of a democracy and let these guys have a say, as opposed to just being barked orders at by the big man. But I think one of the interesting things that Jax will encounter through the course of this season is just realizing how difficult that is to lead men in this type of world in a democracy. Sometimes you have to make the decision and for the greater good.
That's what I wonder, is will the idealism as outlined in the manifesto and writings of John Teller be able to be realised once you actually have that kind of power? That's the interesting thing, isn't it?
I mean, I think that's going to be, one of the central backbones of Jax's struggle this season, right?
Well, I hope that answers your question, Marcy, because I've done it to the best of my ability. The second question is for you, Katey, who of course plays fierce Sam Crow matriarch, or will she be in season 5? I think we know how things are shaping up. Katey. Now, Lisa Saunders has a question for you that addresses the very matter that I just alluded to. What will Gemma do now that she is not the queen of Sam Crow? That's what Lisa wants to know, and frankly, all of us do.
Well, I believe Gemma thinks she is the queen of Sam Crow. I don't think that she,
Lisa Saunders sees it, Katey.
Well, Lisa, we could have a conversation about that.
It's Tara now.
That's Tara. Well, we will find out more about that in season 5. But the truth is that it's an interesting position to be in, to see how mother-in-law now deals with new bride, and what the power struggle of that does become. She'd always wanted her son to sit at the head of that table. I don't think she thought it out completely what that would mean for her position. But I think that Gemma, I think she's in a struggle about her position, but I think she's also in denial about her position. So, like, if you asked her, not me, the actor, I think she would absolutely deny the fact that she's not the queen. She would say she was.
She would still see it as the
Don't
queen.
you think so, Kurt?
I do. I think so. I think there's a sense of an awakening a little bit for Gemma this season, in terms of perhaps, how far down the scale she's kind of slid, and at least that's where it begins, in the awareness of, of the state of the kingdom, and perhaps your role in that,
I think it's going to lead to a lot of conflict with Tara. Don't you think so, Maggie, that there's going to be a lot of even more conflict in this relationship now with Gemma?
I think so. They're both pretty aggressive. They're becoming aggressive. Well, Tara has become is increasingly becoming more aggressive, and Gemma has always been aggressive, and therein lies the problem.
Well, that's obviously something we'll be looking forward to in tonight's episode, Sovereign, seeing some of these issues touched upon. The next question is for Ron Perlman. It comes from a man claiming to be called Vincent Garcia. His question is quite psychologically challenging, Ron, and I'd like you to bear in mind that I'm merely the messenger here out of love of the show, Sons of Anarchy, so don't shoot a messenger.
There's a lot of psychologically challenged people right here
think
having
so.
your back, bro.
I've been in rooms like this before, man. Now this is Vincent's question, not mine. What is Clay so afraid of? He seems to off anyone who comes close to threatening his power. Why does he run on fear? What's wrong with him? What's motivating him? Then there's just a lot of exclamation marks and like a picture of you with no clothes on. That's from Vincent Garcia. What is he afraid of?
Wow. I think it's clear that Clay is not afraid of very much, but for some reason he's terrified that the secret of his what's the word I'm looking for?
Past?
Involvement. That's a word. In John Teller's demise.
Yeah.
Will, and I'd love to put this question to Kurt, because there's this thing that I see in Clay where life and death don't have a whole lot of difference for him. He's one of those guys that's really gone to the edge, and he's looked right into the jaws of it, and it makes him fearless, that he knows it's nothing that, that is ever going to rule over him, is this fear of dying, which makes him an incredibly dangerous soldier.
Yeah, ruthless.
In his early years, and makes him an incredibly dangerous leader in this world. But there's this one sort of, it's a kryptonite thing. It's like there's something pure about Jax that scares Clay.
Yeah.
And that's like his kryptonite, is that
That's pretty good. It's like you're scared of the purity and decency and integrity, the legacy of John Teller that lives on in Jax. That Clay fears that.
Right, and it's not a matter of what he's going to do when he finds out. It's the disappointment that I'm going to see on his face that probably scares me the most, because he is this pure of heart, perfect kind of being.
How do you think that the character of Clay maintains this sort of compassion and affability when he is so ruthless and merciless? Is it because Ron's such a good actor that Clay's so identifiable and lovely? What's going on?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear anything after.
Firstly, you look
Ron.
gorgeous. I'd like to compliment you on being very handsome.
I just heard Ron was a great actor, and I just went,
Well, and then switched off.
I switched up.
That's good. Everyone loves the character of Otto Delaney. Yeah. I look forward very much to those interludes. They're wonderful. But how can it be that a character like Clay, who's horrible, he's always horrible, how come I sort of like him a bit, even though everything he does is mean? We all think that Jack should be president, or maybe Bobby, but he's always doing bird, and he's always banged up, so you can't run Sam Crow from inside the nick. That's English colloquialism for stir, chokey, juvie. So, how come he's so likeable? Will you please tell me? Do you even really write this? Is she the mastermind, Katey?
I think Clay. Here's what I would say. I think that Clay is. He has a line in the premiere where he sort of describes what was driving him last season, and it really goes back to who he is as a man, in terms of, he's this guy that was, probably, I have a sense of Clay's background being perhaps like a military family, and he was in the military, and he's this guy who has this sense of just, being a soldier and being like completely driven towards one goal, and that's all he sees. And like a soldier, you tend to justify and compartmentalize the collateral damage that falls around you. And I think there's something identifiable in Clay that even though he's ruthless, even though he's doing these heinous things at times, there's a sense of loyalty and dedication to the goal. You know, and I think there's people are attracted to somebody that, you know, just fucking has at it and stays the course and does it.
Thank you, Kurt. Thank you for doing the first swearing. We are on the internet, so swearing is fucking permissible.
Yes, yes.
The next question is for you, Maggie. It's from Alison Gravesu. Tara has clearly taken her place at the head of the table alongside Jax. She has the means to blackmail Gemma with what she knows from the letters. We know about that. That's hidden information. Gemma knows what she knows. Are we going to see Tara become even more like Gemma this season, or is she going to use her position to help Jax go nomad and escape? What's going to happen?
Well, I think at the end of last season it's pretty clear that there is no escape for the immediate time being, so I think Tara sees her role as that of somebody who needs to help her mate assume power. And also, you know, I don't think her goal this season is really about getting out. I think it's much more about learning how to live within and accepting the club as her family and the kind of like fierce loyalty that comes along with that.
So John Teller's dream may never be realised, of a sort of a beautiful wandering band of vagabond hippies on bikes bringing peace and love everywhere. Certainly not with people like Tig in The Sons of Anarchy, who I think is the most psychopathic, like dangerously psychopathic, like of the bikers. I'd like to pose this question on behalf of a lady claiming to be Sandra Foster. Is she? We'll never know. What drives Tig's allegiances, Kim? There seems to be something unspoken about what he really wants and believes, and I've noticed that too as a viewer. There is a mystique and a mysteriousness that Sandra and I want unveiled.
No, I don't want to answer. No. Yeah, I think it's changed a lot for Tig in the 4 seasons that we've seen, right? I mean, that first season with Sergeant-at-Arms to Clay's side, it was a pretty great start for him, and we found out stuff that Kurt, he found out stuff about Tig that was just wacky, weird stuff, but he is loyal. And he was very loyal to Clay. And I think what we've seen in the 4 seasons, especially at the end of last year when the big lie happened to him and he went off on his own and we did that horrible, he's always killing the wrong girl somehow. It's just, I have nothing to do with it, but I played it through. So I guess we'll see where his allegiances really lie this year. Yes. And I've said this a million times, and Rossi's going to laugh at me again, but I'm off the leash. I mean, Tig's really off the leash at the start of this year, and it's a good.
And we prefer him on the leash.
Yeah. Right, absolutely. Well, that's in season 5 that there is no leash, so more perversion, more coprophilia, necrophilia, all of the philias for Tig. We've got that to look forward to. Boone, this is a question for you. It comes via Rob Ellis, who's one of our fellow humans here on this planet. How does Boone feel about ending up in jail in 3 out of 4 season finales? Why does that keep happening? Stay straight.
All the time.
Good question.
Well, there is a very
People like that
honest
question.
answer, which I don't really feel like saying. You know, but I don't know. I'm a
It's an
trouble.
unspoken truth, Rob. You're very close. This is our Watergate.
How do I feel about it?
Yeah, how do you
I
feel?
feel actually, you know, it's actually kind of a truthful situation for bikers because they are constantly in and out of jail. So it's not that like this is unusual for a character in this series that they would be in and out of jail, like on a regular basis. You get out, you get in, you go in. Sometimes you end up staying a long time, but hopefully that doesn't happen with me.
I think of Bobby Elvis as the most sort of literary and reflective of the Sam Crow crew, so it seems unfortunate and unfair that you keep getting these penal sentences.
It's just good for my reading.
That's great. Nice.
Very good for my reading.
Tommy, this is an inquiry from one of the viewers called Essie Ferren. When going over scripts, do you find yourselves questioning your character's motives and saying things like, "What the fuck are you doing, man?" It says that in italics. What the fuck you doing, man? Do you find that happening, Tommy?
Yeah, daily. Every minute of every day. What was the fucking question?
It's like, when you see your character's arcs, the situations that Chibs has to deal with, do you sometimes go, "What the fuck is happening, man?" That's what Essie wants to know.
Well, I wouldn't say it quite like that. I'd say, "What the fuck's happening, man?"
What the fuck's happening,
There you
man?
go, like that.
What the fuck? I didn't ken what's fucking happening.
Fucking hilarious. Yeah, I suppose I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. No, fuck
Question.
off.
You've made a classical journalistic error there, Essie. You've given an actor an opportunity to say yes or no. It's got to be how, what, why, where, when.
That's it.
This is a question for you, Ryan. Hello, mate. This is from Betty Kenny. OP waited so patiently to avenge his wife's murder. After what Clay did to his dad, does he have any patience left, or does he feel betrayed by his SOA Sons of Anarchy family?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously I think he feels betrayed. You know, his wife was killed, his father was killed, and then by, you know. But I also think that Opie differs in a little way than a lot of people in the club, that he's sort of more, he sees his own involvement in what's happened and he recognizes it more. But I think he feels betrayed by it all, you know, and, you know, he was betrayed by his second wife, and then, you know, he had a big tiff with this one, and, you know, but I think he made the choice to come back into the club, and everything that's been sort of taken away from him was, you know, at the end of the day was his responsibility, was his choice.
I like the character of Opie very much. I think he is one of the moral centres of the show. I think he seems decent, but it's always bad stuff happens to him, Kurt. He don't get a lot of luck. Everyone keeps getting bumped off. Why are you being so sadomasochistic towards the character of Opie? Are you some sort of pervert?
Dangerous part of these kind of things. I just listen to this stuff and I go, wow, that's really awful. That's a really awful thing. I had no idea I'd put you in jail 3 times. That's awesome. And season 5's not over yet. No, you know, I feel like, you know, there's an interesting dynamic I think that happens between Opie and Jax. You know, the fact that they are, you know, they were literally friends since they were that high, and you know, it's kind of the one guy I think that Jax, you know, can open up to and have these heartfelt discussions with, and I think what ends up happening is that he's been established as a character that has this sort of moral center and this sense of vulnerability, and I think it's almost like, and I don't know if this is some thematic thing I'm trying to say, but there's the idea that it's not a good thing to be vulnerable in this world. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's really difficult to be a sensitive, vulnerable, thoughtful guy living this kind of life.
No, I'm struggling just doing this interview.
You know, so I think that has a lot to, you know, I think that has a lot to do with it, you know?
Yeah, I feel you, man. I feel you. Because I think in the characters of Opie and Jax, you could have the kernel of a brave, new, optimistic Sam Crow built around the ideals of John Teller. Now, the next question is a little bit of, I'd call it comedic relief. It's for you, Theo. I hold you in great affection ever since season 1 when you was in that diaper. I will never forget that moment. Yeah. In fact, it's just nice to know that I can envisage you in that position, even now. It's a pleasure. This is a question from Rhonda Mack. If an episode was focused on your character, what weird thing would you like us to discover? A fetish, a love of fruity drinks, a high school nickname? Basically, have you done any character research? That's what Rhonda Mack wants to know.
We did go into a fetish at one point, but we actually didn't show it in season 2 or 1.
Yeah, I was just thinking about
where the underwear, it was season 1, maybe. Underwear, it was the panties being flushed down the toilet. And there was a scene that was deleted where he was sniffing. Season 2. He was stealing underwear and sniffing them and then flushing them and really having this.
I think that was a key part of the fetish, the flushing.
Yeah, and that was a big deal, like with him. So, It's funny that they asked that. Yeah, he has those weird little things, but
Those were my underwear.
it was Unser's underwear and Boone's underwear, and that's where it got weird.
Don't wear those.
So wrong.
Did that ever make it in?
No, we just started where they were plunged up, and Bobby Elvis said something, but at the end of the day, we decided it was way too weird and
On the toilet.
that you might not like the guy. You might not like the guy ever again for that
Was
little
it
weird.
too weird? Was it too on the nose? Something being kept out of Sons of Anarchy because it's
It's on the
too
DVD.
weird.
It's on the DVD.
I
It's
have a
cause for
feeling you're gonna get a
concern.
bunch of panties in the mail.
Bring them on. This is a question for you now, Dayton. It's from Kevin Smith. Your character has gone through a tough time and now has to fight cancer along with everything else. What do you think has been the hardest thing your character has had to overcome, Dayton?
I think just trying to keep a balance. And his job as a cop all the way through, and friend of the club, that's the hardest thing is keeping a balance, because I just read today on the internet, matter of fact, that Johns Hopkins found 2 more stages of cancer. So we can go up to like 9.
So what, that means your character can live longer? Is that what you're saying?
Not the drinking, the balance.
He keeps adding stages.
You don't even have internet.
What internet was that?
Yeah, but
By season 9, you could be a brain in a jar on a roller skate.
I think that's the truth. With the doing a balancing act constantly between
That balancing
the
act
guys.
is way out of control. Now that there are drugs coming in, charming, like that, I think that the law enforcement role that Sam Crow provided is being constantly compromised with some of Clay's terrible decisions. I don't know how you, as a law enforcement officer in your character, can justify this terrible behaviour and perhaps the cancer as some sort of cosmic punishment. It's fictional. It was in a fiction. Some sort of almighty Catholic overlord.
You see it as chaos. He doesn't see it as chaos. He just sees there's a few things he has to solve. Few problems.
I don't think you understood.
At the first read-through, Dayton pulled me aside and let me know that his father lived 7 seasons with cancer. Not 7 years, 7 seasons.
That's an interesting perspective on longevity there. Kurt, the next question is for you. It's from Josh Gress. What is the significance of that homeless woman that appears multiple times throughout the first 4 seasons of the show? Will her character be developed further in coming seasons? What's going on? Justify yourself.
I always sort of, to me it's a little bit of the, if I go harken back to my pretentious Shakespearean archetypes, it sort of harkens back a little bit to the magical component of Shakespeare. And, and I describe it this way, and this is basically because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with her. I describe it as, she is who she is and she represents who she represents, meaning that, you can view her as just being a homeless woman digging through garbage. You could view her as having some sort of, cosmic connection to the club. You can understand her and the places where she tends to show up as pure coincidence or as something else. And I just sort of leave it out there. And there's no big plan in terms of, it all comes down and she's John Teller in drag at the end of it, I do believe that I usually find a place for it at some point during the course of the season to organically kind of work it in and just have a wink to all that,
I like that, and also like that you've mentioned sort of Shakespeare. One of the things I like about the show is the way that it parodies Hamlet, with Jax being sort of like Hamlet, living under the Claudius-style Clay uncle. Is that something you're aware of, mate, when you're building your character and portraying it?
I mean, in the beginning, in the understanding of, obviously, in television, you only get a couple of episodes at a time, so trying to understand what the overall arc of this character would be, I spent some time thinking about it. And funnily enough, just on a Hamlet reference, I don't know if you ever knew this, but it was always my, I do the I have of late, but wherefore I know not, lost all my mirth speech in American before every audition. That's how I would get into an American accent, because I figured delivering Shakespeare with an American accent, if you can do that, you can do anything in American.
I didn't know.
And John Linson was going out to the bathroom while I was doing that, talking to myself, and he said, what the hell is that, Shakespeare? As he kept on walking.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is. But I always thought that was funny. It was Hamlet that got me this role, because Kurt saw me and really liked me, and the big question was whether I could do an American accent, and Hamlet helped me do that.
No, and Charlie was great, because I'd seen Charlie in Green Street, and while this pilot was in development, while we were figuring it out, I was doing a draft of an awful movie that Lexi was directing. So I had watched all of her movies, and I had watched Green Street, and I saw Charlie, and I said, that's my guy, and I had no idea of what he was doing or where he was, and he turned out he was living in the States. He, had taken some downtime from acting because he didn't find any roles that he wanted to do. He was actually writing, working on a script, and brought him in, and we had our little meeting, and the dynamics sometimes when you're bringing people that reach a certain level, and you can't really ask them to read, and it's a meeting, and it's all that stuff, and like right from the jump, Charlie was just sort of like boom, and he came in and he read, and he did the he did it with the American dialect, and this is, I'll just jump to this. This is my favorite story, is that Charlie came in. We loved him. John Linson, who executive produced, loved me. We went to we go to ICM, where my agents were, to have the network meet him, and we're doing the network meeting.
Which is the meeting that gets you the job.
Which is the meeting that gets you the job, yeah.
30 people from the network in the studio sitting around a conference room table, and you go in and audition for them all, like it with theater.
Yeah, and it's just him and all these lovely people in suits, and Charlie's there, and did you do the scene? Did you?
I did.
You did. Yeah,
I did the scene, and then I went out, and you brought me back in, and I read it one more time.
Right, you read it one more time, and then we're sitting around, and then John Landgraf, loved it, and started speaking to him, because he already gave him the job. And he started speaking. He started speaking to him in terms of, we're so glad to have you back in the family, and blah blah. And it took Charlie about 5 minutes to realize that you actually got the job.
Right.
Because you had
because I was still so flustered, because the problem was we were going to meet at 2 o'clock at ICM, but ICM had just changed buildings, and no one fucking told me. So I was all the way across town on time at ICM at the old building. Yeah. So I showed up an hour late, a little bit hot under the collar. So
I got my job.
Now, that's the provenance of course, the great Jack's character. But how on earth did you find your way into this program, Katey? How do you justify yourself?
Well, I don't even know if I should say it, but I just, I
There are rumors that you're having sex with that man.
It was. I give great head. That's the problem. That's the deal.
She gives great head. There we go. We talked about
I
it for a while. Proper questions.
Children don't listen.
This is the worst thing on the internet.
Wow, that's fantastic. You just said that, because if I had said that,
I would have killed you.
You would have killed me.
I know. I figured I would do it for you, sweetheart.
Well done. I didn't think it would be you that would lower the tone in this room.
I know, right? Surprising.
Congratulations.
See?
You're up against some pretty tough competition.
I am.
Myself
I'm proud
included,
of
obviously.
myself.
Now, on that note, this is from Crystal Adams. Who inappropriately laughs the most during filming? Who misbehaves the most, cracks up, breaks up, chuckles and stuff?
I don't want to say.
Say Perlman.
Wrong.
I think it would be really unfair to say.
What are we talking about?
We're assuming it's Ron Perlman's monstrous chuckle. It's you. He has a little chuckle, does he?
Yeah, and he's got a fairly infectious laugh too.
As long as it's just a laugh.
Yeah.
Some of the things that go on this set. I've heard about how you got your job now. We've got to keep things under control.
We do. No, let's go down. Let's go all the way down, Russell. There we go.
We've got another question for Kim, so we could find ourselves in the gutter very shortly. This is from Amanda Thomas Champion. Do you think that Tig has true feelings for Gemma?
That question.
Why do I have to answer that? No. Hey, do I? Listen to me.
We're going to get some truth now.
Listen to me.
Dying to hear it.
Okay? When I when I
Stop rubbing your fucking.
when I had
It's really disgusting.
when I read the script in season 2, where Gemma and Tig do the wall slam, I said, no, not doing it. Didn't matter how much Kim loves Kim, not doing it. So Kurt heard wind of that and said, well, come and talk to me. So I did. And I said, I mean, I'm so loyal to Clay. He was so loyal to Clay. And Sutter goes to me, well, look, what happens right after that? What happens right after that? You go right to Opie and tell Opie that you killed his wife. So Gemma was going through this incredibly horrific season with what happened to her at the beginning of season 2. Tig was lost, completely lost, killed the wrong girl, a brother's wife. So we were both lost. So he explained to me how this was just a happenstance thing that sort of happened but didn't happen, and it really hasn't happened since. So did that answer the question?
Yeah, I suppose it does. It's just like that. I suppose it's a character that's defined by his loyalty to men as opposed to his emotions towards women. So that's the way that familial vibe works. One of the things I like a lot about Sons of Anarchy is the way that it mirrors a typical family dynamic. That even though they're sort of outlaws and that, it's very traditional in some structural ways.
I think the more important question to take, though, is did he ever think about Gemma during quiet time?
Did you ever think during quiet time? Well, I think that laugh, Charlie, answers the question.
They're all very intertwined, even though there's no actual relation going on between any of them. But they're so their own little universe. They're so their own. They're so attached to each other that there's very incestuous, just in thought, not necessarily in deed. So they're all. And I thought that moment between the two was such a stress reliever. It was just kind of out of, which happens a lot to the characters. If you ask Kurt about it, he'll describe it as just that moment where you just kind of fizzle and, something goes on. It's just to get through the day.
Like necessary catharsis. I also like the idea of saying stress reliever. That's a good excuse. That's genuine take-home information for people watching. You can say, that was simply a stress reliever that I was undertaking there with one of my colleagues at work. That's fantastic. Something that we can all use in our private lives, I'm sure. Nice one. This is a question for you, mate, Theo. It's from Katey Morris. What does that Men of Mayhem patch mean? What's going on with that? How does a son earn it? Because I don't think all sons have one. That's from Katey. What does the Men of Mayhem patch that Juice received stand for or mean?
Well, first of all, that question should be directed right towards Kurt.
Unless it's to do with panty sniffing and flushing.
Which I'm sure it's
Even
not.
then, maybe.
There are 3 who have it, and 1 has an unholy one. So 3 people have the Men of Mayhem. Jax, Opie, and myself. And then 1 has the unholy, which is Happy.
I'll explain it as I once made the mistake of asking a Hell's Angel member what a certain patch meant on their jacket, on their cut, And I said, what's that? And he looked at me and very politely basically said, I can't tell you that because if I did, I'd have to kill you. So,
and then I'd get another patch.
And
so
then,
that's a clue.
Yeah. And then I'd have one for over here. But it's just basically you don't ask. So I sort of carry out that same mythology.
It must have been difficult to research your writing project when the Hells Angels weren't cooperating in that.
They were very polite. They were very polite. Yes. And I in turn was polite.
I imagine so, Kurt. How else would one be in such company? This is a question for you, Katey. It's from James Mullane. Will you be doing any more cover songs for the new season? I love your voice. You sound great in the other cover songs you perform. That's from James Mullane. Will you be?
Thank you, James. Yes, I will be. Right, honey? Mm-hmm. I'm not sure what the song is yet. We've gone through a couple, but I'm actually working on a new record, a new Katey record, and then there'll be a song from that will be on the Sons of Anarchy soundtrack this year, too. But I just don't know which one it is yet. Do you know?
Yeah, she did this great. What was the thing you did with Jackson Brown?
I did a Steve Earle song that Jackson Brown came and sang on with me called Goodbye, but I don't think we're going to use that one. I don't know, but it'll be out and about. So I'm glad people like that. I love to do that.
A further thing to look forward to in season 5, which of course kicks off tonight with episode 1 called Sovereign. We've got a question for you here, Ron. It's from Keith White. what has been the fan reaction to Clay's season 4 storyline? Have you had people coming up to you in the street, making demands of you, questioning you, hoping to hear that infectious giggle of yours?
A couple of requests to off an odd uncle or two, bill collector.
Pound somebody.
Yeah. The response has been precisely what one would have dreamed for, which is, they don't know whether to hug you or spit on you. But the response has been excited. People really genuinely get emotionally involved in our show, which never ceases to delight me.
Yeah.
They have strong opinions about it. They seem to voraciously set their DVRs around Tuesdays at 10. It's been phenomenal. There was a poll taken, like around episode 12 of season 4. How many people thought Clay would make it to the end of the year? And 81% said no.
Yeah.
19% said yes. I would have been in the 81%, because I didn't see any way for him to get out of the mess he had put himself in. Knowing the other personalities of the club and how pure certain of the the do's and don'ts are that are laid out in sort of the unspoken constitution of it.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because Kurt, you've spoken of Clay being a beloved character of yours, and also this touches upon the idea of how much of the goings-on of Charming are subject to the analysis of the viewers. Like you said, to me, that when the billboards are out and it was the circle and Jax was inside and Clay was outside, there was sort of speculation. Do you ever try and send subtle messages to your fans through the medium of, I don't know, semiotics, posters, imagery, whatnot?
No, most of my messages are not very subtle. As far as the marketing stuff, we have brilliant marketing at FX, and they handle all that stuff, including the imagery and all those stuff, because they thoroughly understand the show. They thoroughly understand how best to position it, and I love all that stuff. And they shot it several different ways. In terms of who was in the circle, who was outside the circle, and then it's really, some of it is what's most visually compelling and what tells the greatest story. What is going to get people going? Hey, wait a minute, why is Clay over there? And I think that was the decision to go with that poster. I try to layer this show with a lot of different things, in terms of, not just the Shakespearean archetypes, but in terms of the absurdist humor, and I have no problem using this as a vehicle for some of those things that you're not supposed to necessarily put in TV shows. You know what I mean? And allowing that to play out and continue to tell the story. I try. My MO in the writers' room is always about if I've seen it before, I don't want to do it. You know what I mean? So. And it's really how do I push the envelope in terms of story, in terms of narrative, in terms of some of the absurdity of it? How do I push the envelope on it and have it be surprising and thrilling and compelling, and still keep it rooted, and real and and believable in the context of this big world.
One of the things I like is the dark comedy that comes into the world, and I remember from my own time in a Hells Angel motorcycle gang back in Britain that we had a lot of very good laughs there before it all ended with imprisonment and chaos. Tommy, what that comedy that we see on screen, is there? This is from Christy Goulas. What has been the biggest laugh that you can recall in your time making this show? I'd like to ask you that now under pressure.
You know what? There's a lot of laughs on this.
Seems like you
show.
lot have a good crack together.
We have a good old piss up on this, yeah. Come on, help me out here. What's the biggest laugh? Come on.
People want to know anecdotes of you
Come on,
having fun together,
we've had so many.
tricking to each other.
What's that?
What was that one?
It was something in the clubhouse about Unser as a sitting duck, and we all went,
A little bit when Piney just starts farting when he sat down. Oh no, that's oh God. I wish I could think of something because there is so many.
I know it's weird as well, of course, but this is the nature of this live, spontaneous chat on the internet. It's happening immediately. People are going to feel that kind of pressure. You've had a lovely duck anecdote. People of the internet, if you're not happy, you can go and masturbate at any time you like. Or stay here and masturbate. We'll welcome it. Someone will say something disgusting in a minute. Look at the people that are present. It's bound to happen.
I will say, though, that the interaction that happens, that you're picking up now with all these guys, you know, the camaraderie and the shit they give each other, you know, is really, I utilize constantly on this show because that's to me that comes across on screen. You know what I mean? So that energy, when we write some of those comedic beats and some of the stuff, isn't necessarily scripted, and you get that sense of love and camaraderie and laughter, and that only happens because of the personal relationships that have developed over time.
But many a time, we've had having a laugh on set, and then all of a sudden it'll be the same kind of thing on the page.
Right.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that Kurt can ransack the actuality for on-screen stuff. Yeah, I like that. That's one of the things I really enjoy is the camaraderie, and it's clear that you all really love each other and really get on. I also like to come and visit a TV show, Ron Perlman, he's acing it out. I like coming on a TV show where you can't tell the crew from the cast. That seems pretty cool. It's just everywhere you look, it's just big tattooed geezers sort of standing around. It's wicked. This is a question for you, mate. It's from Kelly Morrow. We all know Jax wants out of Sam Crow, but what does he want Sam Crow to be once he leaves? That's from Kelly Morrow.
I mean, I think the reality, I think that he would love Sam Crow just to be this kind of righteous collection of brothers who look out for each other and help each other and, and defend each other when necessary. I think if he was actually going to leave, the only way you could ever get any peace is if the whole club disbanded, because I think the reality of him being able to walk away and live in any other life or in any other kind of world would fall flat pretty quickly for him. I mean, how after living this existence can you go and live a 9-to-5 type of job? So, I think the only way he could walk away is if the club somehow imploded.
Somehow. I suppose that's what makes it exciting, is that sense that people are trapped. There is no way out. You're part of that code. You're part of that brotherhood forever. So that's a very good question. Thank you. Cheers. Yeah. This is for all of you. It's from Mark C.
That's kind of how I feel about acting. Is that I absolutely hate it, but what else are you going to do? Like, once you've started acting, you kind of get hooked in the lifestyle and everything, but, I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't really make one that happy, I don't know if Hollywood is chock-filled with happy people that are just feeling really content and happy with the state of their life and their position in the world, Yeah. So that's what I just think of.
I think we've all been striped up, mate. Fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, it's a good point. We all face these dilemmas, the imprisonment of our birth. So that's a very good question. Nice one. This is for all of you. It's from Mark C. Fallon. Is there any way to leave Sam Crow that does not require you to black out your back tattoo? Is there any way to leave at all? Dead in a box, body bag.
You can actually that's not true. There's a way.
Actually, you can.
You can leave a club in good standing. And keep wow.
Whoa, steady. I don't know anything about it. I don't have an opinion on that subject.
I don't either.
Wow. Giving head to L. Ron Hubbard. Here we go.
Fucking hell, Hey. Well, I'm Russ Brown. Thank you very much.
I just broke a sweat sitting next to you.
Wow. What were we talking about?
How to get out of good standing.
You're sassy today.
Luckily, we've only got 3 minutes to destroy our careers, I've just been told. So let's see what sacred cows we can attack. I mean, you're already putting out your first show on September the 11th. How much more aggravation do you people want in your lives, for Christ's sake? Now we turn to Boone, a light-hearted, beautiful, affable, Falstaffian character, the wise sage of the Sam Crow organisation. It is to him we turn now in this time of difficulty. It's a question from Jay Morrow for you, mate. What do you do in your spare time when you're not working on Sons of Anarchy? Do you have any hobbies?
Tell the truth.
Oh my God. It's marijuana, isn't it? Oh, look at him. Drugs is his hobby.
How dare you?
This place, it smells like a marijuana factory in here. So I think that's what these lights are for, is growing weed.
Can I answer the question?
Of course you can. I apologise for being presumptuous.
Rabbits.
You love the rabbits?
Baby rabbits. A lot of thousands of rabbits.
He just loves the rabbits in a true John Steinbeck rabbits and alfalfa plants way. That's a very beautiful illusion. Honestly, you love rabbits.
No.
Straight that up.
I do. I used to do rabbits. Have rabbits, but no.
That's kind of cute. We found out a nice thing there, so that's a good question.
Rest.
You just like to rest because you lot work hard, work all the hours God sends,
Lately.
under the tutelage of Kurt Sutter, a hard taskmaster. Okay, so we're 1 minute now, so I think we should all just wrap this up. It's going to be an exciting season. How do you feel about it, Kurt?
I'm very excited about season 5. I feel like to me, we're building to this place of seeing Jax at the head of the table, and I knew that I didn't want to end the series there. I knew that I wanted to land there and have a few seasons to play out to see, what that would all look like. For me, this has always been about Jax's journey in terms of what kind of man is he going to become, and I think now he's in a position where he makes decisions where we actually can answer those questions.
This is an integral season. This is the season of Sons of Anarchy that's more important than all others. You've got to watch episode 1, Sovereign, tonight, which is a word for king or ruler, ain't it? Which is what Jax has now become. Thank you, all of you, for your fantastic contributions this evening. Thank you for your wonderful questions. I myself know what I'll be doing. I'll be watching Sons of Anarchy while smoking weed and sniffing panties, then flashing them away like a guilty little secret. Season 4 is available on DVD and Blu-ray. Get ready for the premiere episode of Season 5 of Sons of Anarchy coming up in a few minutes, only on FX. Oh, and someone's kindly put I'm on the telly as well, but that'll take care of itself. Take it easy, thanks.
Jax returns in October.